What am I eating again? What is this?
Welcome back to Borough Talks, the Borough Market podcast. I'm Giulia Crouch, and this winter we're back at London's historic food market, speaking to the chefs and traders who bring it to life.
It's a very special place. When I'm away too long from Borough Market, I always miss it.
From the exceptional cured meats of Italy and Spain to expertly matured farmhouse cheese.
So you take the curds and you cut them up into little bits and add the salt. That's British cheese.
And modern French cuisine to refreshing matcha.
I mean, I love it when someone comes to me and is like, I've never tried matcha before. I'm like, you're the perfect customer.
This season is all about iconic food and drink and the people behind it. Join us as we dig into their stories, seasonal ingredients, and take a closer look at what makes this market so special. This is Borough Talks. So today I'm joined by Elliot Hashtroudi, head chef at Camille, where French cooking meets the best British seasonal produce. Elliot, welcome to Borough Talks.
No,
Thanks for being here.
A pleasure. Honestly, thanks for having me. It's nice to make the journey here, you know?
Well, you haven't had to come very far, have you?
I haven't. It's literally next door, which is suits me, to be honest.
And you've brought us some breakfast wine.
Yeah, we've got a Sylvana from Alsace, which is one of my favorite regions. Really nice for breakfast. Just easy drinking, by a guy called Mathieu Bosch, who's like a 11th generation winemaker. The family have had this sort of domain in the region for God knows how long. It's pretty incredible and just nice, just a nice family story. Wholesome wine for a wholesome morning.
I love that. And for anyone who doesn't know then, what's like the vibe of Camille? What's it all about?
So the ethos, the vibe is French regional. So we traverse the whole of France, different regions to regions. We sort of take a lot of influence and a lot of inspiration from every region and then sort of twist it in my weird Willy Wonka brain of mine, changing the menu every day, which is good fun, but can be a bit of a challenge for the chefs to keep up.
You change it every day?
Every day it changes.
That's intense.
And then only using British produce, seasonal cooking, and a real focus on sustainability. So from things like getting the whole carcass in, the whole fish, using every single element so nothing goes to waste, to even like green chemicals, no cling film, biodegradable plastics, things like that. I think there needs to be a bit more focus on that across the whole industry. So if everyone does their little bit, you know, we can slowly get there. You know, it's not going to change the world in a day, but if everyone does it, it will help.
And what attracted you to this project in the first place when you heard about it? What made you think, yeah, I want to be the head chef there?
It was quite serendipitous in a way. I just finished a residency in Hackney, cooking food that just meant a lot to me, which was a lot of French food, but it was also a lot of regional British food. And then I met Tom, Claire and Ratnesh from Brindisa and all that sort of other amazing bits that he's contributed to the London food scene. And then Tom and Claire, who are part of the Duck Group, who live in Devon, but also set up definitely the best wine bar in London, Duck Soup in Soho. You know, that was quite an iconic place when it opened in terms of wines and offering. I was drawn to them. Likewise, they were drawn to me. They'd sort of seen my cooking. They'd seen what I was about. We sat in the Brindisa office across the road and they were like, we've got this amazing space. It's currently a sandwich shop. We really like your vibe. We really like your food. What do you want to do with it? We're thinking French. And I was like, okay, let's do a regional French restaurant. I don't want to tread on the toes of, you know, so many different great French cooks. So let's make it my own in that respect. And then a real focus on sort of nose to tail eating and British produce. And they were like, great, like you got 2 months. Let's do it.
Was it hard to like get it all together?
Do you know what? I thought it was going to be a little bit more taxing than it was and a little bit more stressful. But I worked with a good friend, Megan Morell, who's our sort of ops of the whole group. And she was just incredible at, you know, we're just one of those people who are just like so organized down to everything, like writing notes about everything and, you know, calendars, every little niche and little thing like that. She'd got it pinpointed and I'm the complete opposite. Everything's up here. Nothing's written down. So it was a kind of nice harmony between the two of us and she made it stress-free. Finding the team was pretty easy, which was really nice. And I think you're only as good as your team. So it's about building that team, having that chemistry and then sort of conveying the idea and the ethos to them and something that they believe in. And, you know, we've still got a lot of the same team that we had when we started. So yeah, I can't complain, to be honest.
And how was it coming up with the menu? Because I just think the menu is so exciting there. It feels really fresh, really bold, but also like it's got a nostalgia to it.
Yeah, definitely.
It reminds me of like going to French restaurants in France when I was a kid. Like that's
Yeah,
my
yeah,
idea of what a
yeah.
French restaurant is like, but it also feels very modern and like very London.
Yeah.
How did you come up with the menu?
It's like I said earlier, it's one of those that evolve and change every day. The restaurant that we opened was completely different to the restaurant that we have now.
That was a year and a half
That
ago.
was, 18 months ago. And we were lucky when we opened that a lot of reviewers came in and gave us really good reviews, which is very, very kind. But if they come back now, you know, maybe it would be an even better review because it's such a different restaurant to what it was when we first started.
In what way?
Just in terms of like menu and a focus on, obviously, we found our niche or we found our audience, you know, from exciting dishes like the duck neck sausage to our interpretation of a stuffed trotter, the calzado, which has become quite synonymous with us as well. I think it's sort of finding the boundaries of offal or food waste and taking it further. You know, there is beauty in every bit of offal. There's beauty in every waste product. So I think where we started, we were sort of just focused on giving people, you know, like not like prime cuts, but something easy just to get the audience. And now it's a little bit more thought provoking and, I think just a bit different. I think that my main thing in London is there's so many menus that are so similar and so formula based. I want to be a menu that stands out and people are like, I really want to go there. I need to try this. Like he's doing something interesting with food, not just like, okay, the same dish that's been on 10 different menus across London or the same trending dish. Do you know what I mean? It's nice to stand out from the crowd in that respect.
I think it absolutely does stand out. How do you get customers excited about offal or like receptive to it? Because obviously people can still be pretty squeamish and you're not exactly like timid in your plating
Approach. No,
dishes.
I think my idea is I really want people to reconnect with the food that they're eating. It's so often that you go to a fine dining restaurant and you've got this, I don't know, maybe it's a slither of pork or something like that. And you're kind of like, what am I eating again? What is this? If it's a pork chop, it's a whole pork chop. If it's a pig's head, it's a pig's head on the plate. If it's a chicken's heart, you can see it's a chicken's heart. It's not been deconstructed, manipulated and transformed into something else. I think the thing with getting people into offal is there's a bit of a stigma about it. I think people have had it wrong so many times. They're put off by it. Maybe it's your grand's liver and onions that she's cooked to oblivion, that it's gone all grey and it's disgusting and it's pretty bleak. But cooking it in the right way with respect, treating the ingredients with respect and showing people like, actually, this is incredible. This is really tasty. I've just never had it like this before.
Totally.
So sort of trying to convey that and changing their opinion. There's obviously some people that you're not going to be able to convince. We have a lot of tourists from the market come out, look at the menu, see the word brains, turn their nose up and walk out. And that's fine. Like, that's fine. But if one person comes in who's never tried offal and it changes their opinion and it's like, that's job done, mission complete. I think like, that's nice. Just opening one person and changing one person's opinion. You're never going to win everyone over, but if we can do a little bit, then it goes a long way.
And what made you excited about offal in the first place? And how do you go about cooking it in a way that makes it so delicious and so accessible to people?
I grew up, my dad is Iranian and my mum is English. So there was always sort of offal in the house. You know, we go to our local halal butchers and sort of have lamb's liver on a barbecue. Maybe it was something entry level like that. Lamb's heart, obviously a lot of lamb in the Middle East. So more focused on that. There wasn't too much pork in the house. But also my grandparents on my mum's side are really like sweet, traditional English old people, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
the classic, like my granddad was like SAS and my grandma worked in a clothes factory. They grew up in, you know, working class Britain where offal, you had to eat offal, you had to eat any produce. So I think there's influence from them as well. And then just, to be honest, working my way through London, working at Borough Market with Tim Padella, he sort of opened my eyes to British produce and a little bit of offal. We used to do this amazing chicken liver pasta. I think it was with like masala wine and a bit of sage.
That sounds good.
And that was just so good.
Yeah.
Like it was a real autumnal dish and I wonder if they've got it on the menu at the minute, but I think that was one of the best pastas Padella did. And I think, again, it's treating that offal that has the stigma with the right ingredients and the right preparation. And then you're like, oh, like this is actually an underrated dish. This is the best thing on the menu. So I think having that approach and like, you know, I'm from a family of generation of butchers. My other granddad was a leather maker. So there's always been this whole focus with animals. And it's something that I always wanted to not do, but I ended up doing it. It was destiny.
It's in your blood. Yeah,
Exactly,
it sounds like
yeah.
you've been around food for like your whole life.
Yeah. I mean, even growing up, I grew up around restaurants, in restaurants, families, restaurants and things like that. So I saw the hardships of it and it's really intense, but I also found the beauty in it, and I really found the beauty in it now. So I think it's a double-edged sword, hospitality. It can either be a really beautiful thing, but also quite punishing in a way.
I can imagine. It's
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty bleak out there now.
working in a restaurant, is it?
No,
It's hard.
it's hard. And I think, it's quite sad to see how many restaurants are closing this year and in general. I think there needs to be a bit more support from government and a little bit more love from the general public. I think people forget how amazing restaurants are and how important they are to people's lives, whether it's a birthday celebration, an anniversary, or your average Friday local restaurant night out. I think you don't want to lose these places, and it's sad when they go. I think we'd be upset equally if you lost your favorite gallery or your favorite cinema or something like that. It's equally as important as those sort of things.
Yeah, they're massively important cultural spaces.
Exactly.
And this kind of leads me on to thinking about like the aesthetic inside Camille. How did you want to design it, and how's that interplay with the food that you're cooking? Because it feels warm and intimate and softly lit, and it honestly feels like going to France.
Yeah, it's sometimes a little bit too softly lit. We have a lot of people get their iPhones out and like look at the menu because it's too dark.
I love that though. I hate a brightly lit restaurant.
Exactly.
It's horrible.
It's not atmospheric, is it? That's honestly the genius of Claire. Claire she's just got this amazing vision, and it just sort of collaborates with mine so nicely. She works with a load of incredible people, and she's just got a real attention for detail, whether it's the soft furnishings or the things like the curtain that goes into the kitchen to like the wood paneling and things like that. She is the genius behind that. I can't take any credit for it, unfortunately. And then that little bit of red as well. I think there's a fine balance of it being like a neighborhood bistro in Paris, and it's not in your face like Café Rouge. It's really subtle little different things. It does really feel like you've just meandered into a little street on the back of Paris by an amazing market.
And where did your love of French cuisine come from? Have you spent a lot of time in France?
Yeah, it's a weird one, really. I think in Britain, we forget how intrinsically linked we are to France. You can traverse the whole of history and look how we used to fight against each other. You can look in modern history, how we look to fight with each other. It's that neighbor, like across the pond. It's literally that neighbor, your next door neighbor, that you're always like, oh, look at their grass. Oh, what have they got coming in the post today? Blah, blah, blah. I think the two countries have always been so linked in that respect. And the food influence from the two places there's so many similarities, You go to Normandy, it's literally an hour on the ferry or the Eurotunnel. It's literally across the water. So there's always been that admiration from far and that interest there. But I have two aunties as well who live in France. One who I visited when I was really young. She lives around Agde, which is sort of, we'd fly to Montpellier and sort of drive across, which sounds really romantic and really nice, driving the streets of France. But she actually lives in a pretty rough area of France, and it wasn't that great. So I think having the sort of beauty of the markets and the produce there is what really drew it to me. Going in the morning and getting a baguette or a croissant or any sort of pastry, whatever it was, that was quite unique to France. That wasn't something we did in England. It was very much in England, your local supermarket bread or whatever. But there, on a market there, they just had this abundance of fruit, veg and meat, and it was hustling and it was bustling and it was incredible. And that was even in like the worst bit of France where she lived. I'm not saying it's the worst, but it wasn't the best.
The very worst.
It wasn't the most romantic part of France. Do you know what I mean? I was thinking it was
not the France you think of.
Yeah, you think of and you're thinking, oh yeah, like vineyards and a really like windy road. It was not that. It was quite industrial. But it's that beauty of how they treat produce and how they look after produce, and that's just sort of got me in love with it. We were very fortunate to be able to sort of, use that as a holiday. I say a holiday. It was actually like 10 of us cousins sleeping in a one-bed flat, which was then like very fun when you're a kid. But I look back at it now and I'm like, God, I would hate to do that now. It would be horrible.
Talk to me about like regionality then, because that's such a vital part of your concept. What does that actually mean and look like, and how rigid are you to this is what they make there, this is how I make it, or are you quite playful?
We're quite playful with it in the sense that we get the whole animal in, and I'm sort of want to just, with the chefs as well, always come up with a new idea, always come up with a new recipe, whether we develop them together or whether I say like, oh, this is how we're going to do it, blah, blah, blah. It's quite a collaborative kitchen in that respect. But it's about, yeah, like I said, sort of traversing the whole of France. And there's certain regions that I really focus on and that I love. We don't do too much of Lyon just because it's, I feel, not that it's overdone, but there's a lot of amazing chefs doing it. You know, Claude and Henry Harris have that sort of amazing focus on Lyon and Lyonnaise food. So we actually go a little bit more towards Alsace sometimes. And every sort of region lends itself to a different season, weirdly. You know, the south of France, that sort of Marseille seaside feeling comes out in summer. Alsace is great for winter because it's that border of Germany where you've got these heavy roast meats or, you know, love of root vegetables and things like that. The north of France is great for sort of like spring and also winter changing into spring with apples and pears and things like that. That Normandy sort of cider and flavors there. And then central France, obviously, where there's not a body of water around it, has got this wonderful focus on sausage making or how you preserve meats, or that love for wine, which we use a lot in cooking. Yeah, every region's got its own sort of offering, if that makes sense. You forget France is huge. It's not.
Yeah, France is massive. I always think of it as being quite small, but
it's not. Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
So like you could go from one end to the other and have like a completely different eating experience, a meal.
For sure.
And we're not too rigid in like, okay, this is, for example, on the menu, we've got a knack sausage.
What is that?
So it's a sausage from Alsace, which is smoked. And when you snap it, it makes like a knack.
Oh.
And it's got similarities to sort of like a Frankfurter in its sort of taste and flavor profile, that's sort of really smoky and that snap. So we've taken that and we've sort of elevated it and like sort of made it our own, if that makes sense, smoking it over cherry wood, changing the seasoning slightly so it's got more of a focus on cloves, and there's a hint of paprika in there for that extra smokiness. So it's sort of taking that concept or that dish and then making it our own. We're not gonna do it exactly how they do it.
Yeah.
We might offend a few people doing that, but the really nice thing is we get a lot of French people come in and a lot of them are like, this is really, really good. This is
That must
actually
be quite
like,
nice.
that's the most rewarding thing when they come in and they're like, I wish we had a restaurant like this in our local town. And I think you forget, like, the same it can be said in Italy, like the produce and the food and the cooking history is amazing, but finding a good restaurant can often be a struggle. So it is extra rewarding when they come in. And then it's even more rewarding when people like Pierre Kaufmann, who the restaurant's named after his grandma, has become like a real returning customer. He's like,
Oh, that's fun.
he's in a lot, which is nice. And he's the sweetest guy ever. And his wife is just incredible. They're amazing.
And so does the menu always have like something from each region, or is it more like going with the seasons and thinking, okay, no, this suits better now? Like you don't have to tick the box for every region.
It's, to be honest, it will be every region is on the menu. It's not like January is Alsace month, February is Normandy, you know, March is Marseille, whatever. You know, there's influence from the whole of France there. It's not rigid in that respect. It really is just a creative process of finding everything. And it's also, to be honest, like the way we write the menus or function the menus is that we speak to the suppliers first. We ask them what's best or what they've got to offer us. You know, it's about putting them first, not just like, you know, there's a lot of restaurants that will have fillet steak on throughout the whole year, or there's a lot of restaurants that will have strawberries on throughout the whole year, or whatever the produce may be. For us, it's about finding the right ingredient that they're really proud and happy to be producing. And then we work a recipe and develop a dish around that.
So it's really ingredient led.
Yeah.
That's how it's
100%.
done.
Yeah, yeah.
And so obviously now we're in winter. What does like seasonal cooking look like at this time of year?
I think it's one of them where like you've got the like beauty of summer and then you suddenly fizzle into autumn and you're thinking like, oh my God, what am I going to like use? But like, there's not going to be anything. There's not going to be any, you know, amazing, vibrant herbs left. They're all dying and the salads are going to be dying and there's no fresh fruit. But actually autumn into winter is actually a little bit better than summer.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think that like the fruit and veg on offer, you can focus a little bit more and you've got to use your mind a little bit more to be like, okay, I've not got an abundance of stuff right at my fingertips, but I've got enough there to play with. So you take it a little bit further, using various fruit and veg on different dishes and it's there for a reason. It's there for a purpose. It's not just because you've got it and you're like, oh, I want to use it. It's like, okay, this dish is focused on this specifically.
It probably makes you more creative.
Definitely.
Because you're like, this is what's in front of me. What shall I do?
Yeah.
And that's quite nice as a chef to have that like play.
I think it is. I think we work with Flourish Farm, who are incredible. And during the summer, there's so much at your fingertips, like on their list. You're like, how can I get all this ingredients in a week?
Yeah.
And you can't do that. Whereas autumn, it's like a smaller list and you're like, okay, I can get a huge amount of this and play with it and use it on like every dish.
So do you literally only use British produce?
Yeah. No,
Don't get anything from anywhere else?
I would say 90%, you know, there's a few little bits, you know, I can't disguise it or use it. There's a couple of things. We work with a couple of other suppliers that we try and get everything British from them, but maybe their chives are grown in Italy.
Yeah.
You know, we need chives on the menu. We need chives on the menu. A lot of the dry store, we don't really grow. Things like cumin seeds and stuff like that is obviously imported. So yeah, I would say 90% of it is, and whatever the focus feature of the dish is on the menu, that's always British.
Is it easy to make French food with British produce? I suppose we're so close.
Yeah.
We must have the same stuff, right?
Literally. Yeah, I think, you know, a lot of people, especially Americans, always turn their nose up at Britain for its food and its produce and stuff like that. But I think you forget that Britain has got one of the best quality of farms at the minute. You know, working with people like Farmer Tom, working with Calixo at Flourish, there is some incredible producers out there. Neal's Yard for the cheese.
Oh, incredible.
They're like, regional cheeses are amazing. They are one of the best producers of cheese in the world. So much so that my brother lives in America and he imports it over there. He's like, I miss that like cheese. Like you can't get it that good anywhere else.
Yeah.
And I think it's nice when a lot of French people come into the restaurant and they're like, oh, like Lincolnshire pocho, like what's that? They try it and they're like, oh my God, this is like a Comté, but even better. It's like the cheese making and the whole agriculture in the UK needs to be celebrated more. From amazing cattle, you know, some of the best beef in the world at the minute is coming from the UK. You know, I appreciate there's a lot of different farms in America or Australia going for that sort of Wagyu focus thing just because it sells and because it's, you know, for the elite. But actually working with British farmers, we had a Hereford bull on the other week and that was just amazing. I'd never seen any beef like it. It was just almost crimson and purple in its color and it had this wonderful fat cap on it that was like bright Simpson like yellow. It was amazing.
Wow, that's incredible.
And then obviously where it's been a working bull its whole life and it's been bred to mate, the muscles are a little bit more working. So it's got a wonderful texture in it. So yeah, there's just some amazing produce coming out of the UK. And I think people need to sort of open their eyes to it and be like, all right, I'll visit the butchers once or twice a week instead of going to the supermarket and picking up a pack of mince or a pork chop or whatever it may be. It's like, celebrate your local butchers, celebrate your local produce. And that's sort of key. I get it from an affordability aspect. You can't be doing that every day, but once or twice a week, push the boat out, see if the budget stretches and do it. It will like change your world and you'll change your mind when you look at meat.
Yeah, your eyes are just open to it, aren't they? I couldn't agree more with you. I want to talk to you about this phrase, like the hunger gap.
Yeah.
This isn't something I'd really heard of before. So explain to listeners what it is.
Yeah, there's a common misunderstanding with the hunger gap. I think a lot of people think we enter the hunger gap when we go into winter and there's not really much available, but that's not true. The hunger gap actually exists after winter, sort of March, April time.
All right.
So when you've used up all your root veg or the ground has become frozen and a little bit too hardy, and then your spring seedlings or your spring veg that you're about to grow, they're obviously not quite ready because it's not been sunny enough and the soil's not got enough nutrients in it yet. So it's that little gap there from the end of winter into the start of spring where there's not really too much available, and that's why it's called the hunger gap.
What kind of things do you cook at that time of year? How much of a challenge is that?
It can be quite challenging because there's not an abundance of stuff immediately ready. You're in this sort of limbo period because you're waiting for the new season and you finish the old season essentially. The beauty about it is you've got to think ahead with it. So now we'll be preserving, fermenting, pickling, all these different sort of techniques that have used for hundreds and thousands of years that people have always done from ancient times of just salting something, you get that understanding of how the flavor increases, but also you're harnessing your winter stuff ready for the next, like the gap. Yeah, you've got to always sort of be thinking ahead with food. So there is that. There is also the beauty of working with people like Flourish. Their order lists are a little bit smaller, but then they appreciate that restaurants are going to not be able to spend as much. So they drop their lists and their price lists and say, look, get what you can get and we can give what we can give. So it's that relationship with the farmer as well that is important. But that period as well, I like celebrating beige food. I think a lot of people
beige food.
don't like beige. I think they often go like, oh, like there's nothing healthy on the plate or whatever.
That's not true.
It's not true.
No.
And it's a time where like it's freezing outside. You've just finished Christmas. It's getting into a bit of a depressing month. Have a nice bowl of comfort food. Like, don't worry about it. Just enjoy it for what it is.
Completely agree. What would be your ultimate bowl of comfort
My
food?
ultimate bowl of comfort food.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a really hard question.
It is a hard question because there's so many good ones.
There are a lot of good ones.
Would you go French or would you go something else?
I don't know, it's a hard one really. I think, I eat quite a lot of French food at home and quite a bit of offal at home, but I'm not having it every single night. I think people often think like, oh yeah, he's this offal focused guy. He's obviously eating it at home every night.
He's
like,
eating it
I'm
for
not.
breakfast.
I'm eating, literally like liver and bacon for breakfast. No, there is a lot of that, but also something like a lasagna is good.
Yeah,
Like,
come on.
that's proper comfort food. Like fondue in winter as well. I love that. Like I think round January time after Christmas, once you've had all your 100,000 roast dinners that you have in December because of numerous parties or whatever it may be, I think just in January having a proper fondue with some amazing Neal's Yard cheese,
Yeah.
some fresh bread, like a few pickles and a few acidic bits to cut through all that cheesy, fatty goodness, and then just like a nice bottle of this Alsace, for example,
This would go perfect.
to wash it all down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's, for me, the ultimate comfort food. I'm going to be in a food coma after. I'm probably going to have a stomach ache and I'm probably going to have a sleepless night, but I'm going to be in a really good place after it.
Totally worth it.
Yeah.
And what
100%.
kind of things do you normally cook at home? Because I'm always really intrigued with this about chefs.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you're
yeah.
obviously cooking so much
Yeah.
in the restaurant and you're always trying things. Do you go home and like just can't be bothered?
Yeah,
or
I
what do you
think-
do? Do you get a McDonald's?
No, definitely not McDonald's. Not that. No, I'm not. Sometimes there's fast food, but again, I'll generally get like from a local curry house or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not too far from Tooting, so like there's an amazing amount
Yeah,
of
that's nice.
different curry houses there from all over. Cooking at home can be one of those where some days you're like, oh, I really want to make the effort and I really want to cook something nice and do it, and you might make your own pasta, which I often do. Harking back to my padella days.
Yeah.
Or I will literally be like, what have I got in the cupboards? Beans on toast. Like, that'll do. Yeah, there's no cohesion in every night I'm having something amazing. I
Yeah.
think I'd rather put all my amazing work into the restaurant and work hard there and cook nice food and go home and just have something painfully average.
I think that's life though, isn't it?
It is life.
You've got to have both. It
it's
would
balance.
be actually mental if you were going home making
Yeah.
your
Yeah,
restaurant food all the
yeah,
time.
all the time.
We've just had some amazing French food brought up to us
Yeah.
from the kitchen. So tell me what we've got. They
So,
look beautiful.
yeah.
I love the plating.
They are.
It's so like rustic but
It is.
beautiful.
Yeah, I think, we're unpretentious. We don't want to
Yeah, like-
alienate people from food or leave them intimidated. I think just like we said, letting the ingredients speak for themselves. We've got a chicken heart dish with aligot. So it's a smoked aligot. We work with Neal's Yard.
What's
with-
aligot?
So it's like a French mashed potato, essentially. There's a lot of smoked cheese in ours, and we finish it with a little bit of smoked oil just to give it that sort of flavor. And then the chicken hearts, which are just pan fried. And then, a lot of our cooking is based in tradition. So this is our take on a pan sauce, balancing acids and butter and having like an amazing rich stock.
Yeah.
And then this one here is a hake poivre. So obviously we have this focus on regenerative farms and sustainability. We use hake, which is part of the MSc program. And, there's an abundance of it at the minute. As the waters get colder, that fish sort of accelerates its flavor, and it also is at its best, in my opinion. So again, pan fried with some trotter stock, which is reduced till it's really sticky. Or
Trotter
sort of,
stock.
yeah, it gives you that really glossy, lip smacking kind of mouthfeel.
Yeah.
And then we've got some green peppercorns that we've brined just for that real heat. They're both, probably the two simplest dishes on the menu, but this one's one of the favorites, and this one has been really popular recently as well.
They look beautiful. Let's dig in.
Thank you. Yeah, please.
Should we start with this one?
Yeah, let's do it. This is, when you were saying a bowl of comfort food, this for me is up there as well.
Well, the mash.
Yeah, it's a bit sausage and mash in a way.
You see that? It's
of,
like a French classic.
Yeah.
But the mash just looks, I can't describe it. It's like artwork. Like it looks so glossy and smooth and like.
Exactly. Yeah. I think, you can't really hide from the amount of butter and the amount of cheese and stuff like that goes in it.
That's all the good stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow. That is amazing. That is so good. Just the balance.
Yeah.
And like the comfort.
It's super simple. Like I said, but
wow.
Simple doesn't necessarily mean easy. I think it's about getting every single element right. The mash has got to be right. The sauce has got to have the perfect balance of color, acidity, and butter.
Yeah.
Chicken hearts have to be nice and soft, not like rubber bullets where they're overcooked.
They're not rubbery at all. That's
just
perfect,
soft, right? I think
that sauce is like,
it's good.
that's like really addictive.
Yeah, it is.
How do you cook the hearts?
So the hearts, again, we're one of these restaurants where we have a lot of chefs come do trials, and they're like, where's your open fire? Where's your grill? What's this setup? And I'm a bit old school in that everything is done in a pan pretty much. We do have a little grill, but so many restaurants in London have become open fire wood flame grills. I think Brat was a pioneer, one of the pioneers of that. And I think a lot of people have copied that model in, it has to be roaring fires and it has to be open, this, whatever. But we're just old school classic pans. Like, you can't beat the technique or the flavor with pans.
Is it hard to get the cooking right?
It is. It's something that I love. You've got 8 burner or a 10 burner and you're really sort of juggling different things, and that's the beauty in it. But I think a lot of people have lost that these days, and they're so used to just putting things on the grill/barbecue. So I'm trying to bring that back. I'm also like a technophobe, and I don't know how to use computers. And obviously that has translated its way into the kitchen as well, because there is no real modern technology in there at all. So that's
quite French, I feel.
It is, yeah. I think, thankfully it's worked in my favor, but keeping it old school is the way to do it, I think.
Let's try the hake. I don't want to.
Yeah, please.
How long has this one been on the menu, and
so
how did you come up with it?
This has been on the menu for about 2 weeks, I think now, on and off, fish dependent as well. Sometimes we work with Kono Sashimi, which are a small company in Cornwall. Mm-hmm. They are quite exclusive with who they work with and get stuff off their day boats immediately. They kill it the Ikejimi way, which is the old Japanese traditional with the metal through the spine. Mm-hmm. So it immediately preserves the fish and keeps it, there's no trauma damage from the fish, which can often happen from classic fishing.
Yeah.
I wanted a fish that held itself against, this poivre is usually served with a steak or something really meaty. So it needed to be a white fish that really had that meaty steak texture. We don't often get halibut in the UK, so halibut would marry nicely with it. What's the next best thing, which is sustainable and part of the MSc program? It's hake. So that's why we landed on it.
Again, it's so good. It's so good. I'm so excited by your cooking. It just feels like, I don't know, something different in London.
Yeah. I really appreciate that. It's very kind. I think that's kind of what we're aiming for. A lot of it is the foundation of different sauces, but it's also doing something a little bit different. There's a lot of I hate this saying surf and turf, but combining different things with what usually it wouldn't go with. We did a buttermilk fried partridge with a prawn head butter that was on last week. Often we do pork chops with a lot of clams and sort of chervil root and things like that. It's about trying to do something different, but still honoring French techniques and traditions.
How hard is it to get the sauce right? Because that sauce is incredible and the other sauce was incredible, and I feel like that ties everything together. But the fish is cooked absolutely perfectly, like flawless.
Thanks.
But it's that sauce that's like so exciting.
Yeah, I think sourcing in France is, it's imperative. It's one of the most important things, dating back from things like Escoffier and even predating French cooks like that who have had such an impact on the world. Sourcing is the foundation of France, I think, and traditional French cookery. So balancing the sauces is always important. It's something that I've always done, is balancing acid and fats with sauces, but also making them different in terms of textures. This one is more sort of silky, slightly acidic, which you can see it's got this nice dark color from the amazing stock that we've made. Whereas this one with the trotter stock is more unctuous. It's got that mouthfeel and it's also sticky. So you've got silky and you've got sticky. It's all about what works right with the right protein. So yeah, there's a lot in the sauce making. But
Does it take you a while to perfect them?
it does, yeah. I think if something's ever so slightly off, I mean, I'm a little bit anal about it sometimes. Having, exactly the right balance and the right seasoning is so important. Like I said, simple isn't easy. So yeah, it does take a while to perfect. And I think, there's nothing worse than it being ever so slightly off.
Yeah,
But
it must bug you.
It does,
It's
yeah.
just like-
I've not tried this yet
try.
today. So it will either be great for,
It's amazing.
I'll either go downstairs and complain at the chefs that it's not right. Or
No, I
joking.
think-
I'm not that kind of person.
I think it's perfect.
Yeah, it's great. It's nice.
And I know like offal is your thing, but what about some of your like vegetable dishes? And
Yeah.
how much do you care about them? Because I remember from when I went, you had like a really good I think it's still on the menu. They're like shallot tatin.
Yeah.
And I loved that. And I think vegetables can be as good as meat.
They can, yeah. I think a lot of people think we don't really celebrate vegetables and stuff like that.
It's a
Obviously,
pretty meaty menu,
It is,
I suppose.
yeah,
Like
it
it's not
is.
somewhere I take like a
no,
vegetarian.
no, I appreciate that. We don't want to alienate any customers, so there is always vegetarian options on there.
Yeah,
The shallot tatin has been a bit of a staple just because
it's really good.
it's good.
Stood out in my mind.
It was really fun. I think Kate Crader had it last year and said it was one of her favorite dishes, which was a huge compliment considering it's not something that we celebrate as much as meat. It's important to have some veggie bits on there. It breaks it up from the meat. So there is always a few options on there. Jerusalem artichokes at the minute, for example, are on the menu. They're coming in from Flourish, and the guys at Shrub, they're incredible. I think you have to have balance in your menu,
Yeah.
which is definitely something we do. It's a sort of structure I've set out in the menu. You've not just got a variety of veggie and fish snacks. You've then got the small plates where the same ethos trickles into it. You've got a few offal dishes. There's always an extravagant dish or one that's a little bit more expensive towards the bottom.
Like what kind of thing?
We celebrate a lot of crab at Camille. I grew up in Dorset and Portland wasn't too far, so we work with the guys at Portland. So there's often a nice variation of crab on there. Something like the partridge, which was recently on, that was a little bit more of a celebration. But then also, we take it and strip it back. Our snout cassoulet has been hugely popular. It's a real intimidating dish. It's quite confronting, but it's delicious. It's like
Confronting how?
it's like a bowl like this, and it's from some influence of my time in Carcassonne, of the traditional way of making a cassoulet with all the beans, and there's lard on, and there's little bits of trotter in there. So again, it's sticky. But then on the top, you've got a whole pig snout.
How do customers respond?
They're pretty like, whoa, that's a pig snout in a bowl. Like, Jesus Christ.
Do you like getting that reaction? Is that what you're setting out to do, to kind of like
Yeah,
shock people?
yeah.
But like,
I think it's, again, I want people to know what they're eating. If it says snout cassoulet, there's a snout on the cassoulet. It's not just been chopped and folded through it, or it's been, like I say, disguised like so many restaurants do it. I want people to connect with their food again. That's the sort of aim and the ethos. It's not there for intimidation or gimmick factor. I don't want to like alarm people and be this freaky restaurant that
No,
does
I
the
don't
weirdest thing. It's about treating it with respect. But it's so nice to see people have it and be like, wow, I've never had snout before, but that was, incredible. Or you've really opened my eyes to, the whole nose to tail concept. When we do nose to tail, we mean nose to tail, from pig's blood to pig's nose to tails to, cow's udders to whatever it may be.
what's the
It's on
cow's
menu.
udders dish? I don't know that one.
So basically we change it quite often. We have deep fried cow's udders, which are, it's a little bit like Spam in its texture, but it's got this wonderful cheesiness to it, believe it or not, from obviously being an udder. The same we do with goat's udders, which taste exactly like goat's cheese. And again, it's about pairing that with the right garnish to make it, balance. Something like a goat's cheese needs to be paired with something a little bit sweeter. So maybe it was figs earlier in the year, or maybe it's, something a little bit more approachable. But yeah, it's been really popular. And I think where we put it on at a cheap price, people love to eat it. Last week we had an udder broth on, which was like a clarified consommé, which just had this really great cheesy flavor to it.
Wow, that sounds so
And
interesting.
it tasted like a carbonara. It was literally, we used some cured
Oh, crazy.
orgeat that we had, that we were preserving, and a couple of other little bits on there, but it was literally like a carbonara taste, and yeah, sold out in a day.
And I think it's that surprise element that makes a restaurant memorable.
Yeah.
Like if you go and you try something that you wouldn't normally have tried, and then you're like, wow, like that's blown my mind. I didn't know that it could taste
Yeah.
like that. That's why you think about it later on.
Yeah, I think that's what, that's the goal, to be honest. I think it really is about surprising people in the best sort of way, seeing dishes that they've never heard of or never come across, and then leaving and being like, it's still in their mind months later. And that's how we get so many repeat customers. It is about keeping it exciting. And I think where the menu changes so much, it benefits us because you can have a different experience every time you come and you can try something new.
I like that.
It's nice. I think it's important for restaurants to do that, you have to do that in order to use whatever the suppliers are saying that are best, use what's in season. Sometimes it alienates people in a little way because they know I want to come to Camille to get this dish or that dish, but actually it's better to do it that way.
And I want to finally ask you about this kind of evolution that I think we've seen in French cooking in the UK. I think there was a time when it was pretty tired and boring and stuffy.
Yeah.
And now it feels really exciting again.
It does.
That Brits are really engaging with. Is that something that you've noticed?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's been this sort of renaissance, I would say, of French restaurants again. I think you're right. I think a lot of people sort of got tired of similar sort of menus and the same sort of things after COVID. I think when no one sort of went away, there was that sort of lust for French cuisine and that sort of, some of the classics, you could go have a steak hash or you could go and have, andouillette or something like that. There is that classic sort of element that people miss. But I also think there's so many people that forget how beautiful French food is that they really want to bring it back. There's a lot of good restaurants doing it at the minute. I think it's also slipped more into a casual dining thing now, whereas it used to maybe be a little bit more prestigious and a little bit more fine dining. I think having rustic food like this is sort of more important and what people want. I think we've realized that with so many Michelin restaurants and so many fine dining restaurants having to close their doors, unfortunately, I think people's attitudes and people's tastes have changed throughout time. That early 2000s fine dining is dead. Bring back the rustic table.
I love it. I love the unpretentiousness of your food, but it's obviously done to such a high level. But it's just it's amazing. It's super exciting.
That's kind.
Elliot, thank you so much for coming on Borough Talks. It's been an amazing chat, and your food is absolutely sensational.
Thank you.
So thank you so much.
Very kind. No, pleasure. Thank you.
Huge thanks to Elliot for taking time out of his busy schedule to share his expertise on all things French cuisine with a British twist. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Borough Talks. Follow the podcast so you don't miss what's coming next. We've got plenty more good food and great stories to come. Borough Talks is hosted by me, Giulia Crouch, produced by James Deacon, audio editing and sound design by Chris Attaway, videography by Felipe Franco. Thanks to Liam, Matt and Bethan at Borough Market, and to all our guests for the food, the conversation and the time. And thanks to Jenki for being the backdrop to this series.